Have you ever wondered which variety of tomato you should use for AeroGardens? Well, it's a slightly complicated question, but not exactly. This is a 40-watt AeroGarden, and it has heirloom tomato plants that are microdwarfs from AeroGarden, and you can see that they are in need of pruning, but it is a question of height and bushiness. These are also a microdwarf variety of tomato plant from AeroGarden called Golden Harvest. And notice how they are quite shorter than the heirloom variety. As a matter of fact, the ones that I have here are around 7 inches in height. This is a 50-watt AeroGarden Bounty, and it also has heirloom tomato plants. They're microdwarfs. And notice that with the additional 10 watts of light, that the plants are slightly less bushy, and they are also in need of a pruning. So when thinking about the tomato plant varieties, you can go with the AeroGarden varieties. However, you will still have to be able to do a little bit of pruning in terms of keeping those tidy, but it's not going to have the rampant growth of a larger heirloom variety of tomato plant, which could easily reach 8 feet in height, or a determinate variety of tomato plant that could easily reach 4 to 6 feet in height. This is an AeroGarden sprout that has a 10-watt light, and the large tomato plant with the internode spacing that is extended compared to the microdwarfs is a good way to tell a difference. Now, this particular plant is a patio choice yellow, and it is labeled as a dwarf tomato and would probably get around 24 inches in height in hydroponics, though a lot of these will get a little bit taller. So I would anticipate that it would get to around 24 to 36 inches in height. So even though this is a dwarf variety, you could tell that it's easily going to be too large for an AeroGarden. In comparison, there is a true microdwarf that is growing beside it. It is called red velvet. Now, the red velvet, if I pull the branches back, you should be able to see it, is already in flower. And notice how short and compact this is compared to a dwarf. Now, the red velvet is a plant that is in the same family as the others that I showed you, but the red velvet is smaller than either the Golden Harvest or the heirloom variety tomato that AeroGarden sells. Now, with this in mind, you'll probably have a little bit smaller cherry tomato and less overall total harvest. A benefit of a smaller microdwarf is that in an AeroGarden Bounty, instead of having 2 plants, you could probably easily do 3 or 4 of this particular variety. So as you're selecting your plants for success, it's easier to pick out varieties that actually fit gardens rather than ones that you'll have to fight with in terms of keeping these growing and the roots trimmed. And keep in mind that if you take those tomato plants out of the AeroGardens and put them into other systems, such as the one behind me, which is a 6-gallon hydroponic container with a 100-watt light, they will have a different morphology, and they will appear different in size and width and internode spacings. So when you're choosing plants for AeroGardens, don't think that it will be a case of same results, whether the systems are different. So with that in mind, the tips for AeroGardens will probably help you out with what I've showed you so far.